Hey guys, welcome. Welcome to Purpose on Tap number 23. Does that sound right? Purpose on Tap number 23, which I think is worthy of applause. Thank you for the 4 of you that applauded. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you guys for being here tonight. We're doing something a little bit different, something that we've been talking about doing for a while. There are five guys all sitting up here wearing the same colored shirt, so we have something in common. In 2016, we started talking about creating a different environment. We wanted to create something. Come on, Fitz. Jeez, you're killing me over there. Come on. There you go. Everybody turn and look at Fitz and really embarrass him. Good job, Fitz. Thanks for making all that noise. Appreciate you. We decided we wanted to do something different. We didn't want to create another church and we didn't want to create another Rotary Club. So we thought, hey, let's come up with something that can be a chance for guys to gather in a very unique environment. And we are very appreciative to Monday Night Brewing. We kind of grandfathered ourselves into this place. And we're very appreciative of them and for their hospitality and letting us be here. So there are 2 guys on my right and 2 guys on my left. Matthew Cesare, David Johnston, Calder Justice, Clayton Edwards. My name is Tucker Yates. 2016, we started to come up with this idea, and this is where we landed. And we're very appreciative for you guys being here tonight. But what we are all about is helping men your age too, Clay, sitting over there. Helping men your age come to more of an understanding of what community, and then even more specifically around what Christian community looks like, what it means to get together with guys who have like-minded thoughts. Maybe some understand Christianity, maybe some don't, but that's the premise in which we have built this thing on. And in the last year, we did a survey. Some of you were part of that survey. We appreciated your answers. And we did a survey trying to figure out what are some of the things that you guys are rattling around in your heads? What are some of the things that you're thinking about? And for most of you guys in this room, it was pretty obvious what was going on. Job stuff, family stuff. A lot of you guys, some of you right out of college, some of you have been out of college for a long time. But family stuff and job stuff are the things that kind of rattle around in our brains, and they're the things that we think about because we're not in college anymore. There are maybe 1 or 2 college kids that snuck in here tonight. That's okay. We're glad you're here. But what we're going to do tonight is you're going to get a chance to hear from all 4 of these guys. If you guys weren't here last year when I spoke, you're probably thankful you weren't here, so you don't need to listen to me tonight. But tonight you get a chance to hear from the other 4 guys that were a part of the founding of what this thing is all about. And we're going to leave plenty of time at the end, but I'm going to have each of these guys just take a couple of minutes, share some things that are going on, and then we'll open it up to some questions from you guys. So just be thinking about what they say. Be thinking about what they say and see if it triggers some thoughts for you. We're going to start with David Johnson. David's an Atlanta guy, went to Lubbock, been on to Ole Miss, and when he got out of college, okay, good moment of silence for hotty toddy. Any hotty toddies in the house tonight? Yeah, come on. All right, 1 person. Good job. We know where the rest of those Ole Miss guys are. They're not here. Okay. So, right out of college, goes on staff with Young Life out in Colorado. And then comes back to Atlanta, and as most of you guys have done, you jump right into the rat race, right? You're like, I'm going after it, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to get involved in the work world. And David jumped right in, commercial real estate, doing his thing, and he got so much into this thing that it led to some counseling. And so I'm just going to ask David if he would take a few minutes and share, sort of discuss how this affected your faith and how this affected your purpose.
Thanks, Doc. So when you're 22, and in my case, I was 24, after coming back from running a life property out west, you're on this kind of crazy high. You kind of come back with a finance degree in the middle of the recession, and you're like, where do I start? I want to pursue this, and my faith is in good condition. I feel like I had that under control. I just gone through a year of sort of structured accountability, great community, working really hard, not making any money, but it didn't matter because I was totally fulfilled with community and a higher purpose. I get back, and I remember I reached out to a mentor of mine, a friend's dad, and I remember talking about sort of income, and he's like, man, $100,000 a year doesn't even cover my kids' education and my mortgage. You know, essentially, good luck. And from that day, that breakfast forward, my mentality just dramatically shifted from trying to have purpose and impact, pursuing my faith in a professional manner, to I gotta make money. I gotta make money. And like many guys in the room, it's like there's pressure, right? It's either from where you grew up, your family, or it's sort of self-inflicted pressure. But without purpose, the pressure can sort of suffocate you as opposed to propel you forward. And so I put everything, faith and purpose, any sort of higher calling to the side. I said, I'm gonna focus on my career, starting it, and sort of going through my 20s, getting established, and then at that point I would have made it, you know, and you have all the things you want to have. You can pay for private school and your second home and all the stuff that you grew up with in Buckhead, thinking is the goal. Well, so the rat race is what I jumped into. I was volunteering as a young life leader, which was a saving grace, and I had a group of guys that started up when we were like about 25, meeting every week, talking about life, drinking beer, talking about life. And those two things sort of saved me, kept me sane, kept me in the center, because otherwise I was just so focused on status, looking around, comparing myself to other people at the same stage or even down the road. And it was leading to crazy burnout. And there's a lot of guys in the room right now, if you're disengaged, if you're burned out, if you're bored, if you have no idea what you're doing professionally, you can relate to this story, because I was there. I was just kind of floating along. I had good jobs and I was, you know, making money, but I was not fulfilled at all. And it got to the point where I was just so kind of lost in that. I was single most of my 20s, so I could sort of bear the burden solo, and then to bring anything else into the equation. But then all of a sudden I get married and it starts to get real. And I'm like, I'm bringing this home to my new marriage, sort of stress and burnout at work. And what do I do about it? So I hit a breaking point, and I called a mentor and said, hey, I need help. I'm in a dark place. It's a private battle I've been fighting for almost 10 years and maybe 8 years. I was isolated in my battle, and I said, I need help. And he said, well, I know a great counselor, you should go talk to her. She focuses on family, career, and sort of brings in faith to the conversation. And so I went, and at that point, I did everything I needed to do. When I was 22 or 20, I looked at myself, strengths, weaknesses, passions, how am I built, and what direction do I want to take? And sort of started to climb out of the hole. But to answer your question, you know, there's a long period of time there where I put it in the back seat of my life. And then just recently, well over a year ago, I started Chick-fil-A, where I can actually sort of work with like-minded people, have a higher calling, have community, and have purpose in a professional way. And it's been a life changer. So, good stuff. Yeah.
Well, cool thing y'all heard David say that. Y'all heard David say this was a young life leader, and Jack Doherty, where's Jack? Jack, where are you, buddy? Where is he? Jack was in David's young life group back in high school, and Jack and I had some conversations, and Impact was a very cool thing. Thank you. So y'all hang out some questions for David. We're gonna jump over here to Calder Justice. Here on my left. Calder grew up in church, as you know, a lot of us do, because it's the South, and you know, what do you do on Sunday? But you go to church, right? But gets to college, and somehow a couple of distractions at Ole Miss. Is that possible? One or two distractions going on at Ole Miss, and kind of led you away from church, maybe towards towards other things going on and kind of away from that pursuit of Christ. But a cool thing happened to you in a conversation you had with a guy, a couple of years ago. So just take a few minutes to talk about how that conversation affected your faith and affected your purpose.
Yeah, thanks, Tuck. So the guy who's talking about actually spoke here 1 year ago, a few days ago, Brian Dunnigan. And he had asked me to go to breakfast. And so I said, okay, I'll go to have breakfast with this guy. And 2 hours later, kind of what I started to learn was that there was more to life than what I thought there was. I was kind of thinking about life in a 24, 48-hour time span. It just wasn't focusing on the future or myself or my friends or my family. And so he, right there afterwards, had told me to go on a mission trip. And that's really when I started to realize that there's more to life than what I've thought there was. We spent a few days digging a latrine. It was like 15 feet deep in Honduras. It wasn't hot. We weren't near the equator. I couldn't move for a few days. It was really embarrassing. But to go back to the original question, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I had this background going to church. I had thought I knew everything, like some of us may think we know. I didn't learn until I was 30 and got married that I don't know anything and that she knows it all. I still struggle with that, but it was hard for me to grasp. So after I'd had breakfast with this guy, I started to get plugged into the community, and I just wasn't aware of the impact that a community can have on you. I didn't know how important it was to have people tell you that you were doing a good job and that they were proud of you outside of your parents and your family. And so that really struck a chord with me. And a few months after that, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's when it was the first time in my life I had realized that, wow, this community thing that I've been trying to build I'm leaning on it. I really need these people. And then it was right around then where I realized, God, last time I really prayed was probably 8 years ago or 7 years ago, and it was to get a C in a geology class so that I could graduate from Ole Miss. And my dad's sitting up here, he's aware I did not get that C. I got a D, which is pretty impressive. I had a few, but that was the biggest one. So I had to then take an online class that spring, which he was not happy about and told me for months that he didn't believe me until the diploma came in the mail. But so it was then that I realized I need to be praying. Like, there's more to life than what I've been thinking about. And so I really started to build on community. And it's kind of had a snowball effect in my life. I started to go to a men's group that met on Tuesday mornings. Actually, Matthew's mom invited me, of all people. And then that turned into a Bible study that David and Matthew and a few guys in this room and I started. And then Clayton kind of dovetailed into that. And then 4 or 5 years later, Purpose on Tap was kind of organically born. So I'd say the big thing that has impacted me was learning about community, knowing what it can do and the benefits that it has.
Okay, I want to dig a little bit on that. It's an easy thing to sort of toss around, but when you really get down to it, what does community really look like? Like when you get down to the brass tacks of, hey, I've really got some serious stuff that's going on in my life. This is not, we all smile, everybody's happy, right? How you doing? Great, right? That's always our pat response. But when the stuff is really going on, and you've not to delve, but you've dealt with stuff. We've all dealt with stuff in our lives. What sort of, did Dunnigan say something specific? Was there something that was a trigger for you that was like, you know what, I gotta quit sitting on my rear end. I really gotta do something serious about this.
Yeah, it was at another breakfast, and he had asked me a question on, you're saying X and you're doing Y. I'm hearing one thing and seeing another, and my response to him was, well, Rome wasn't built in a day. I got to take my time here, and so that was kind of when I realized, hey, listen, it's a funny saying, but there's not much truth to it.
Yeah.
And then to fast forward that into my marriage, I'd say the big thing has been, there's been a few times where, unbeknownst to me, Whitney's called Matthew and talked about something, an argument that we've gotten in, or issues that we're going through. And then when you have a buddy call you about your marriage, it says a lot, and it means a whole lot, and it's just something you can't put a price tag on it.
It's not fun in the moment, but
It sucks.
It sucks in the moment.
He's done it a few times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good job, Matthew. Matthew, of course, has got it all figured out. If you have any questions about marriage, talk to Matthew. He's got it. He's our pro. Thank you. Thank you, Calder. Let me jump in on here. With Matthew a little bit. We had a conference call on Sunday afternoon, and we were just kind of talking through some stuff. What do we kind of want our time to look like? And for him, self-admitted, and this is something he's straightforward about talking about. Some period of time, and I think this is something we can all relate with. We get kind of self-absorbed, or we kind of think, I'm probably pretty good here. Spend some time, kind of understanding that, and really not able to extend a whole lot of grace to Catherine, his lovely wife, Catherine. And in some ways, as we all do, man, we learn the hard way the importance of needing to extend that grace. And you learn what it's like to go from being selfish to being selfless, kind of what that looks like. And he and Catherine had what we'll call sort of a breaking point about a specific event that happened at Sea Island. And I'm sure that's not the first time those words have been spoken, that specific event at Sea Island, right? I'm sure you guys have ever spent any time down there. But you spent some time in London, and you've come back, and now you're here. Jump on and talk a little bit about, how maybe what has caused a shift in your perspective, and how's that had a tangible effect on your faith and on your purpose?
Sure. It's great that Calder's leaning on me for marital advice when I'm talking about marital issues that I have. So good luck. That I think what's interesting, and I'll kind of lead off by saying, hopefully you guys are hearing that we all are very imperfect people. Literally, we launched Purpose on Tap in February of 2007. And this Sea Island, 2017, sorry. This Sea Island event happened in April of 2017. And I was, starting Purpose on Tap. I'm leading a table at Ironman. And literally, April of 2017, kind of realized this moment of like, okay, Catherine, my wife, we dated in college, but at the time we're married for 5.5 years. Outside her brother's here, outside looking in, like everything's great, right? Everything is awesome. And I think that, and this Sea Island, they were asking me like, what the hell happened to Sea Island? What'd you do? And I was like, it wasn't like the Sea Island thing wasn't like literally it was, I was there on a work deal, and we got like a little argument at the beach to where she went back, and then I hung out at the beach like with my buddies, like playing volleyball, and you were hydrating with not water. And I literally had to walk 15 minutes on the beach back to our little like suite. And I remember thinking like, okay, like we we're getting ready to go to the big work dinner thing, and I was like, okay, I can, like, this is awkwardly the thought I had. I was like, I can get into our room and I can make a problem out of what just happened, or I can kind of bite the bullet and gracefully, apologize and say, hey, sorry about that. And I proactively chose to throw a sarcastic jab. Literally, I had 15 minutes to choose what I was going to do. And I literally chose to make an asshole comment. Not, again, it wasn't something super, I could probably say, they were asking me what I said. I was like, I don't know, but it was just to poke the bear. And that moment, it was just the last straw where she sort of broke down, and she sent me this text the next day that was like I remember like reading it, and it was the most hurt I've ever been, because she was like, look, where we are in our marriage, like this is not okay, and you are not treating me right. I don't feel like you're in my corner. You're really selfish. And it was not the Sea Island thing that wasn't why. It was literally, I've known her for 9 years at that point, and I told these guys, when you're off by an inch over 9 years, that inch becomes a mile, right? And so I sort of had to take a step back and say, holy crap, like, what am I gonna, like, what is wrong? What's wrong with my marriage? What am I doing poorly? And so literally that April, I started seeing a counselor. Another probably theme you would hear, he saw a counselor. I know Calder has talked to a counselor. And it's funny, my wife, when I told her about it, she was like, are we getting divorced? And I was like, no, like the counselor isn't always a bad thing. The counselor's okay. Like, and she actually now comes to this counselor with me, but literally this last time, she was like, I gotta be honest, like, I hate this. Like, this is weird because I think people that come here are messed up. And I was like, it's okay, like, you're allowed to be here. But yeah, I started that April and really took time to reflect on, okay, what are the things that I am doing poorly? How am I approaching my marriage? And whether it's a marriage or just a relationship or a friendship, I think it's all applicable. And the feedback I got was, there's kind of two buckets you can fill up when you're looking at a relationship. There's what am I seeing in this person that I dislike, and what am I seeing in this person that I like? And I was spending a lot of time filling up a bucket of what do I dislike. And I was holding a lot of resentment with the things that she was doing well and were awesome. I was basically using like my things that I disliked to almost resent the things that she was doing well. I know it sounds weird, but it caused a lot of anger, and it caused me to do these sort of like asshole one-liner comments and stir the pot and create issues on purpose. Like literally on purpose. I decided to cause a problem on purpose. And so I think for us, what I realized was, okay, I need to approach my marriage in two different ways. One, and I told these guys earlier, was how do I practice gratitude daily? And what I mean by that is how do I show up and be grateful and thankful for my wife's Catherine, for what she's doing and how she's contributing to our relationship. The second was how do I approach my marriage / any relationship with grace, right? So how do I give this person the benefit of the doubt? Andy Stanley has a talk around, I literally think it's relationships, and he has his point is grace and truth. And how do you approach relationships with grace and truth? And so for me, I have these conversations in my head where, okay, am I going to choose the grace route, or am I going to choose the jerk route? And I have to proactively, and again, that's my issue, is having to proactively choose grace. But that's something I deal with, and something I learned was, hey, Matthew, you need to daily practice choosing grace. And so that moment at Sea Island was really just a breaking point of what are you doing? Here's your 2x4 across the face of your wife feeling broken down. And either make a change, or that inch is going to be a mile that you can't recover from.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Thank you, Matthew. We'll jump down on the far left here to Clayton Edwards. First met Clayton when he was 11 years old. He was involved in my youth ministry a lot of years ago. And like I told you, we started talking about Purpose on Tap in 2016. At that point, he was a young single guy living in a van somewhere down by the river, and not, just living the life. He's now married, has a dog, runs a business, and has, 7 kids? 2 kids. Has 2 kids now that are about 3 weeks apart. 2 girls, too. He's trying to catch me. I got 3 girls. He's trying as hard as he can to catch me. But a lot of transition. And again, guys, that's a lot of what we're looking at. You're coming out of college, you're moving into something. Millennials change jobs about 62 times in their career before they finally land somewhere. So you've gone through at least 7 job changes in the last year. But Clayton's involved in the family business, which is wonderful, but a lot of transition. So, it goes from, hey, what are we doing tonight, to, I've got to change another diaper. I've got to be involved in this. And there's toys all over the house, and there's women. It's just kind of going everywhere. Talk a little bit about how you have navigated this, a lot of this transition, And how's that affected your faith? And we're going to jump on that and get everybody to piggyback on that question. How's that affected your faith? And then really, how's that affected your purpose?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of single guys in the room. Being single is awesome. A piece of advice that my dad's in the room, and what my dad once told me about being single is that this is the richest you will ever be. Spot on. Spot on. No, look, singles, you've got control over your time, your money. It's just your show. But it's a season, right? And that being said, we all highly endorse marriage. We all highly endorse growing your family. And I love what Matt said. He nailed it, which is, look, we're trying to figure it out, just like everybody else. So we're just here, kind of sharing some of our thoughts. And kind of one of the biggest aha moments. So we've been married 4 years, like Tucker said, and the arrival of baby number 2, which was this past December, was really a major reality check for me. And it made me realize that your purpose, my purpose was rooted in faith and business and growing this family business, and it quickly shifted to family, and very much faith-oriented family. David just had his second kid. Matthew just had his first kid, and I mean, we're all kind of just a couple of months behind each other, and this becomes a real swift reality. And what I realized is where I was needed most, and my business partner Doug is also here tonight. Where I'm needed most right now in this season is your family. And your wife needs you, your 2 little baby girls need you, and I had this mental drive and focus on career and being a provider and these sorts of things, some of the stuff that David was talking about. And it took a few swift conversations, not only with my wife, but also with some of the guys that are in my circle, where and my dad has been a close mentor of mine, which is focus on your family, and really create, work to create margin there, and work to prioritize there. So the time you spend, you look at your week, and I quickly started marking things off my schedule that you no longer have time for. One of our speakers I think it was the last time, it was basically when you're presented with an opportunity or something to do, it either needs to be a hell yes or a no. And if it's not a hell yes, then just get rid of it and gracefully say, no, I don't have the margin, I'm overcommitted, that sort of thing. So that was difficult to learn, but I'm telling you what, it has made a dramatic impact on the home front. The other thing that I'm going to mention is we talked about having a close group of, kind of community. Stay in front of your guys. I mean, I saw Matt DeLeo and Bobby Jackson's my brother-in-law. He and I are very close. I married his older sister. And we're all super in tune with where are we with our schedule, where are we career, where are we with our family, where are we with our faith. And have these guys ask them difficult questions and say, hey, here's what my wife's saying. Is this normal? Because look, you said the thing about your wife, she knows everything, you know nothing. I get that all the time, and it's, you want to know, is what I'm hearing accurate, or is it just, am I crazy? It sounds like I'm crazy. But so keep those guys, that group of community close to you, and then be sure that you connect with some close mentor advisors that are at least a season ahead of you. They get married, they get kids. Tucker's a close one of mine. My dad's a close one of mine. Certainly my business partner, Doug. And they can speak wisdom into your life about kind of this season that you're in, and help you get aligned with your priorities. And like I said, we're all looking to learn. So particularly, you guys that have been through our season before, come up to us afterwards, and we'll take. We've heard lots of advice from our wives, but we would also like your, kind of your side of things. And I just can't tell you kind of how much I appreciate this group, this crowd, and kind of the community, and how it's really reinforced my faith as I've gone through this seasonal change.
Awesome. Thank you, Clayton. Appreciate that. We sit up here, the 5 of us, 5 pretty strong personalities. We have some really good phone calls, and we get into it and we have conversation. But at the end of the day, our purpose and what we are pursuing is all about understanding the impact that Christ has on our lives, and that the incredible need, exactly what Clayton alluded to, the incredible need for community. And if you look in Scripture, you look at what it says, that is such an important part of our lives. And that's something that we really want to encourage you guys and challenge you guys to pursue. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. We want to take, time is it? 10 to 9. We want to take a couple questions. So if you've got a question, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Hal.
Like you all need another homework assignment. You're all very busy with everything you've got going on. My challenge to y'all as leaders of this group is the consistent theme that I heard all four of you talk about is community. And one of the things that helped each of you survive and thrive to get to at least where you are today is each other and the ability to lean on each other and lean on other resources or somebody else or somebody older who can help you. So my challenge to you to throw out to this group of many older men is how do you in this group help develop smaller communities within Purpose on Tap so they can get the same thing that y'all have done? And in doing so, can you seed it with some, let's call them seasoned adults who have kind of seen the route, already gone through some of the things you've done? Again, I know that's a homework assignment, but the question I put out to you is, how do you do that? Have y'all thought about how do you make that happen?
Do you find that community? Caller, you want to jump on that?
Yeah, so, thanks, Dad. He's invested a lot in education. Yeah, it was only 5. So, we have a variety of different things, and I'm going to mention some of them. But that is spot on, Dad. That getting in there and we call it rolling up your sleeves and just digging deeper. It's really important. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, 2 on Tuesday, 1 on Friday. It's going to be the recap email. We've got 4 or 5 different things that you guys can get plugged into that either we're involved in or we've been a part of. And we would just encourage you guys to reach out, join, try and get uncomfortable. This may sound weird, but I love putting myself in uncomfortable situations. So I would just challenge you to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, walk into a room where you don't know anybody, and try and be vulnerable.
Clayton, do you want to talk a little bit about your group that you alluded to? I know Billy and Bobby and
Sure,
Leo.
yeah. Probably 2012, so what, 7 years ago, something like that. I had moved back here from Athens. I reconnected with Tucker. As Tucker mentioned, he was like our youth leader when I was 10 or 11. Flash forward, whatever, 15, 20 years later, I said, hey, can we, I'd like to start a small group, something community-wise. And we established a group back then, and a bunch of, a ton of the guys are here tonight. Raise your hand if you're in our Wednesday night Wednesday reveal. And it's the reoccurring. We did at Buster's house. There's 10 guys. Tucker kind of led us for 5 or 6 years. And we're in the Word. We're reading the book. We're encouraging each other in our walk. A bunch of guys that got married recently in our family. And it has just meant it's meant the world because, and I learned this from Tucker, is you quickly learn, this is your friend group because you're like-minded and you're all faith-based and encouraging each other. And when stuff gets bumped in your, in your private life or in your marriage or whatever, it's who's your 3 a.m. phone call? Who do you know that you can call when it's you're in a difficult situation? Who's going to be there for you? So that's been just a tremendous asset for a ton of us in the room.
Thanks. Who else? Question, Dennis?
How do you deal with somebody who's important in your life, an important colleague or perhaps your boss, who has a demeaning outlook on the Christian perspective?
Good question. Who wants to jump on that? Anybody?
Tucker, go ahead and take this.
You just work for your yourself, right? Yeah.
That's a difficult one, but I would say we all have had bosses in our lives that have been difficult and have been demeaning in some way. Maybe not directly towards our faith, but towards us or towards our tenure or lack thereof. And I think what we're called to do is to serve, and that's what Christ did for us. And he said the whole power paradigm is upside down. He showed up to serve others, not to be served. And so I think if our mentality is that every day, no matter what, no matter how we're treated, and we have that attitude towards our colleagues, coworkers, bosses, whoever it is, to stay the course and serve and stay humble, then it kind of works itself out. That's what I've done in the past.
Anybody else want to jump on that? Matthew, you got a comment? It's not fine, No? All good, all done, right? I had a conversation with a guy who's in this room tonight. Had a boss that was really unethical. I mean, wasn't asking him to be unethical, but knew that he was a Christian, but yet still sort of conducted himself in a manner that was, wasn't the right way to do it. So he ended up leaving that position. But I think when you get into being demeaning for what you believe, that's tough. That's a tough thing, especially if you like the job or you need the job or you want the job, you can't find another job or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's, we gotta take our lumps. There are a lot of guys in this room, you don't like what you do. Right? Okay. Everybody loves their job, right? Yeah, here we go. If you like everything about something that you do, that's called a hobby, right? So you need to kind of think in terms of, there are going to be things about it that you're not going to like. You're going to face situations you're not going to like. The question is, are you bringing that to your boys every week? Again, it comes back to community. It comes back to those guys that you're walking through life with. You're dealing with crap, you're dealing with stuff. You got guys that you're walking with. It sure can make it all easier. Doesn't make it perfect. Come on. What you got? Go ahead, Adam.
So he was asking basically as men, how do you get to the point where you're comfortable asking for help? Whether that's because you think you can do it yourself, conquer it yourself, but how do you get to the point, or are you comfortable to ask for help? Is that right? Or when? And I'm just speaking for me. I'm a very confident person. I'm a doer. I consider probably all of us, maybe not you, but like type A. Well, you wouldn't say you're type A. I don't think. Would you? Like very much like I'm gonna push you out of the way to get where I want to be. And that being said, that's part of why I reached a point in my marriage, because I kind of put blinders on and said, hey, look, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I'll fix it, I'll do it. And literally the first meeting I had with this counselor, he said, hey, listen, and I made the 2x4 reference. He was like, a lot of times God allows a moment where you literally get hit in the face with a 2x4 because you're not going to recognize it any other way. For me, that's what I needed, was literally the slap in the face and a wake-up call. Unfortunately, a lot of times have to get brought to your knees before you're willing to ask for help. You hope that doesn't necessarily happen. You hope that you don't have to have a moment of weakness or a tragedy or an issue where that is the moment where you're like, okay, I can't do this. I think the speaker, the speaker, he was talking about how literally he woke up in a gutter, right? Like he was like, I woke up in a gutter, and that was when he was willing to ask for help. You hope you don't have to wake up in a gutter to ask for help, but the biggest thing you mentioned it was just, for me, my issue was with pride and being too proud to think that I needed help. So my only encouragement would be take a step back to reflect, and Clayton does a great job of this, of asking people what they see from the outside looking in, and ask your circle, whether it's a friend, a family member, a spouse, a relationship, of what are they seeing, a counselor, what do you see from the outside looking in? Because a lot of times they can hold up the mirror and say, look, I see something totally different than you see. And you may think you've got it figured out, but you don't. And that's what's helped me, and I know usually helps a lot of us.
I was walking through a department store a couple of weeks ago, and my phone rang from a guy who's in this room tonight. he was like, I'm struggling. I've just found out this, I've just found out this, I've just found out this. And I said, can I get you some help? So we reached a breaking point. So for a lot of times, it's we reach a breaking point, and it's that, where your stomach is in your throat, and you realize, man, I've got to do something about this. But a lot of times, it's that slow sort of progression away. My buddy that's here tonight, it was quick, but for a lot of us, it's a slow burn. So I sit down and have lots of conversations with lots of guys, and ask lots and lots of questions. There's almost no guy that I've ever sat down and have a conversation with that I haven't said to him, hey, you may want to talk to somebody, because we're all dealing with stuff. And it's not, you're talking, I'd say there are a lot of alpha males in this room, but there are a lot of alpha males that need a lot of help. It's true. We all need it. So it's not a sign of weakness, but it's something that's perceived as weakness. Come on, go. Talk to me, Hamilton.
All right, so we know people that are not believers or new believers, it's one thing to get them to come to like Friday mornings with you. It's another thing to get people that are like that fallen off or are at that breaking point. It's the guys in between that I struggle with. Like I led a Bible study, and the reason why we kind of disbanded it is because one week we'd have people that were just fired up, and then they would isolate and insulate themselves. And I know how you handle that. You just text them until they
scream at them until they break.
They show up on Friday, but how do you, other four guys, one, how would you handle some guys that you were in a nice, like, good spiritual relationship with, and it's like kind of fallen off and ghosted you? And also, how do you like for people to reach out to you if you are in that situation and they are trying to get to feelings?
Yeah, I've got kind of a quick thought on that, which is, we're all, particularly it sounds like you're pretty passionate and aggressive about wanting to pursue your faith, and you want that for your friends, or for the guys you're talking about. We're all the same way. One thing that I've learned, and I've been that way, like Tucker, I'll text you, call your mom, call your friend, whatever. Yeah, change your phone. He knows your work number. So yeah, but that's. Look, I love it. He's done the same thing with me, and he gets me here. But it's kind of the God's timing deal. So it's how to exercise patience. We've had in our group, we've had guys exit, come in, and an exit sometimes creates a new opportunity for a new guy. So I would just say the term that I like to use is be pleasantly persistent, and make sure that they know, look, when you're ready, we got a place for you, and we're excited about having you. But if you're pestering, that's sure.
I want to add on that. So I think, Matthew, Dave, and I know Ned, I don't know if anybody else in here, but there's a handful of us that have been meeting every other Tuesday for the past 8 years. And we've had ups and downs as far as meeting. And a lot of guys between travel, work, kids, work dinners, that type of stuff. Sometimes we'll have 10 guys come, and sometimes we have 3. And it's frustrating. But to what Clayton said, it's just sometimes it's God's time, and that's difficult for me, because I'm like, bullshit, I know you're sitting at home. You're feeding me a lot.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, I drove by your house earlier. You're not but you just gotta meet him with compassion, and to what Clayton said. And this has been difficult for me, but kill him with kindness first, kill him with persistency. So just be there for them, and they may reach back out to you when you least expect it.
Maybe one or two more. Wrap it up.
Hey.
Spencer! Go, baby.
So I, first of all, want to applaud you. I've been thinking a lot about the connection between courage and vulnerability, and I think y'all have all modeled a lot of both tonight. I think there's no courage without vulnerability, and appreciate you all sitting up there and telling us some really personal stuff about your lives. And it also makes me think, the vulnerability aspect of it creates connection. And so a lot of the issues we struggle with as men when we're going through a hard time is the disconnection that can create. So I guess, to end in a question is like, how do y'all recommend each of us go forward and kind of approach vulnerability in our relationships with other men in a way that's also not overly divulging, and so you feel like you're emotionally vomiting on your friend.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought, and just, again, this is how I'm wired. I'm probably not going to be comfortable sitting down with everyone in this room and being super transparent, like beyond the surface we've reached today, right? I think my encouragement would be, Spencer, is that there's probably, whether it's two guys, it might only be one person, but there also might be five, but there's going to be a select few people that you really are going to be that comfortable with. I would be surprised if someone is comfortable doing that, with 10 people, right? And if you are, you're probably known as like, oh my God, like Spencer's back. He's telling me all the stories again. But I mean, there's going to be, the 2 or 3 folks that you probably know who they are already, and maybe you have that relationship now, or you can have that relationship. So for me, I know, my dad's one of them. There's another mentor of mine that literally know everything about me, everything, the darkest secrets. And my relationship with those folks is incredible. And I think that, again, I'm just being transparent, I don't think I could have that relationship with a ton of people. I can probably have that with a few people, but I know who they are, and I've chosen. There's a moment where you kind of finally like strip off the clothes and get naked, and like you can't go back after you do that, right? But you have to be willing to do that, and it's a little weird as guys to get to that point. But I would just encourage you, if there's the 1 or 2 folks that you think you can get there with, it's so worth it. You talk about intimacy, and I think guys can have intimacy as friends, but you have to be willing to do that and get there.
I would say take advantage of make a positive out of a hardship, right? It's like I have so many buddies I love to drink beer with and talk about anything but something personal. But when something happens in their life or something happens in my life that's public, that all of our crew sort of knows about, then you use that to, hey, I'm going to make this, the one positive thing I can control is our relationship and like the depth of it after this happens. And take advantage of that moment and say, push past the Braves, Falcons, Beer stuff, just one step at a time, and just say, hey, can we start doing this every month or whatever, and catching up, and you'll be surprised what happens. It's just take that one step.
Gordo, I'd say what's worked most for me, and it's not easy, just swallow my pride and say something that I don't want to say, or answer the question that they ask me truthfully versus give them the BS, run-of-the-mill answer. So I'd say that's the biggest thing that's worked for me, is just to swallow my pride and just be brutally honest.
Last question. Who's up? Come on. Nobody? Done?
One over here.
Talk to me.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Rubin. This is my first night here.
Welcome, Sam.
Thanks,
Oh, yeah,
Sam.
yeah, it is.
Don't tell us your deepest secret.
All right, Sam, stand up, take your shirt off, and tell us everything about yourself. Just kidding. Sort of.
Everyone else will feel bad. So, first off, thanks everybody for having me. Hats off for everyone for being here. But obviously to you gentlemen up at front for leading such a, like I said, it's my first night here. I didn't really know what to expect, and I think it's an awesome organization. I think that this kind of demographic and this age group and point in our lives is something that I've never really been exposed to, of a supportive community. So quick hats off to you. But to that point, my question is, and I'm not trying to put you guys on the spot, and this can kind of be a question for all of us, is, truthfully, when we look at it, those of us in the room comparatively are, relatively privileged. So my question is for all of us as men and as an organization, which I'm first night, very happy to be a part of, is how do we take it to the next step? And how do you guys view this organization, which, has an incredible and supportive community being, an awesome group of guys, but, how do we take the next step to bring this community to those less fortunate?
Great question.
So to the less fortunate portion, for about the past year and a half, I've spent almost every Tuesday morning at the Atlanta Mission. And actually, the gentleman sitting up front asked one of the questions, Dennis, I met him there. He is not a resident. But it's been very powerful for me. I think there's lots of opportunities in Atlanta, not just there. It's definitely awkward when you have a older man that's your father's age. He could rip your face off, and he tells you that the reason he's so jacked is because he used to go to the stairwell of his apartment complex growing up to do 600 push-ups at a time, so he was big enough so his mom would beat the crap out of him. And when you hear that type of stuff, it'll strike a chord on you. So I'd say just reach out to us. There's so many opportunities in Atlanta to connect with. We have a lot of less fortunate people, and we could plug you in with one or many different options. And at the end of the day, I was telling Dennis and Duane this earlier, I give up something on my calendar to make sure that I can be there on Tuesday mornings. Just because when I hear a guy that's had his tennis shoe as his pillow for the past 6 months or maybe the past 6 years, it's really humbling. And it's just done a lot for me. So I encourage you to reach out to one of us or some other organization and try to be plugged in.
Yeah, that's a great question, and one takeaway to sort of relate to that question, and kind of give you guys encouragement is, and how your first question as well was, truthfully, you guys also need to take a step towards us, right? We can't chase. We can only chase so much. So if someone's interested in a small group or mentorship or getting exposed to someone to meet with, we have so many resources. It's going to be hard for us to chase you down and find you. We would love for you to take a step towards us and say, I'm curious and interested about that. And the same with connecting with folks that are less privileged. One, yes, as a group, we can probably do a much better job of that, but we also have a ton of connections. The leader of that organization spoke here a year and a half ago-ish. The guy who kicked off this year helps lead the Tuesday morning group that he goes to. So we have a really good relationship with the mission. But what I would tell you is take a step towards us, ask us a question about that, and we can say, here's what we actually are doing a little bit more behind the scenes or below the surface that you may not be aware of in this room. But it takes a little bit of proactivity versus us just chasing the whole time. And that's more of a challenge to everybody and us, but take a step towards us and we can help a lot more than maybe what we're doing just on these monthly meetings.
Great, thank you. Good questions all the way around. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate your question. A couple things in the back, guys. We're going to wrap up right now. We've got these devotionals. Take one. If I don't see one in your hand, I will chase you down and put it in your hand. Please grab one. The card that Calder referred to. A couple different small group options on there. You're going to get a follow-up email, hopefully tomorrow, maybe.
No, it'll be Friday.
It'll be Friday. Thank you. That'll be Friday. That's going to have all of our contact information on there, and we are more than happy to connect you with stuff. I've got several groups that I'm involved with. These guys have several stuff that they're involved with. Just encourage you. Again, like Matthew said, great challenge. You're going to have to take that step. And that's maybe thinking, hey, something's wrong, but no, nothing's wrong. It's just, hey, God created us to be in community. That's the way he designed it. You go all the way back to the book of Genesis. Adam's cruising around alone, so he creates a woman, right? He creates a woman, and life was a lot better until that damn tree, right? Till they ate the fruit on the tree. But anyway, that's for another day. But we've got some Purpose on Tap swag in the back. Make sure and grab some of that. We will not meet next month. We will not meet in July. We will be here in August. 5 of us will sit up here. We'll walk around and we'll be available for as long as you guys want to stick around. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys. And yeah, See you all.